Hey guys, what's up? Karaka here, and today I'm here with another Digimon deck profile. Today we'll be doing a deck profile on the Imperialdramon deck with the EX support. So, yeah, this is a really strong deck now. I think Imperialdramon always has been a pretty decent deck, but with the EX support, the deck is definitely running a lot smoother than it was before. So without further ado, let's get right into deck profile. So we're going to be running one of the Upamon and then 4 Demi-Vmons. This is my personal preference. I'm running these at 5 Digitamas now, but you can totally cut this down to 4 and only run the 4 Demi-Vmons because it makes it a little bit more consistent. But sometimes when games drag out a bit, you might want to have that 5th Digitama. But this deck it's usually quite fast, so you probably won't need it, but just in case. Alright, now let's move on to level 6s. We're going to be running 4 Imperialdramon. This is the BP3 Imperialdramon. Mine loses 2 Digivolution cost if you are Digivolving on top of a Digimon or Imperialdramon. And then it has jamming, and also on evolution skill, make all your Digimon with jamming active again. So very powerful skill. Definitely a skill that can end games pretty quickly. Next we're running 3 of the EX Imperialdramons. Honestly, I think this one is not as good as this one, but this one also has its own merits. For one, you can rest one of your opponent's Digimon and then you can unsuspend this Digimon and then rest one of your opponent's Digimon if this card has a free type evolution source. And the second skill is on your turn, if you have, for every color you have in your Digimon source, it gets plus 1000 power. So if you have red and, or not red, if you have green and blue, then this will turn into a 13k attacker. Honestly, it doesn't make that much of a difference because 13k doesn't beat over most level 7s anyway. But that's fine. Most of the time you want to Digivolve into this one so that you can rest a blocker and then attack for game if you don't have the Imperialdramon Digi-Evolution source. Next, we're going to be running 2 Omnimons. Not all of those actually don't run Omnimon anymore or run them at 1, but I think having this in your hand at any time just makes it a lot more consistent. Mainly, sometimes you might be off by 1 attack, and this really does change. Is really a game changer. So we're running the Omnimons instead. Some people might choose to run the Lobomon instead, but in this build, I think having Omni is a little bit better, especially with Ice Ball as a card now. So yeah, sometimes when you're missing some hits, this is the way. Next, we are running 4 of the new Imperialdramons. So this is the one that has 2 skills. So on evolution, when this card digivolves and you have a free type Digimon in its source, then you can make this card active again. Second skill is if this card's name has Imperialdramon in it, this Digimon cannot be blocked. So it makes all of these guys unblockable, which is really good, especially since black is kind of being played a lot recently, and with the Machine Dramon, Mugen Dramon, whatever you want to call it, Royal Knights and Diaboromon running around, you want to get over those blockers. So this is pretty good, and since it won't block, it won't help your Omnimon, but it will help your Imperialdramons if they do have blockers. So that's fine. Depends on the matchup, I guess. Next, we're running the old Imperialdramon, or not Imperialdramon. Just have basic jamming, and it makes your Imperialdramon active again. Very bad card against Icy Wall or Ice Wall, but pretty good all the other time because it just makes your Imperialdramon a card that can attack twice, which is nice. So running this, some people might opt to run Dino-Beamon in some of their builds. They might cut these both down 1 and then add a Dino-Beamon, or just choose not to run this if black is not too heavy in their meta. It's up to you guys. You guys can kind of pick and choose what you want to run. But personally, I think running 4/4 is doing pretty well for me so far, especially since when I tried to cut this down to 2, my opponent kept having blockers on the field, and that stopped me from winning faster. So I think it's a good card to run. 4 of each. Next, we're running 4 of the new XVmon. Has jamming and a very good inherent skill. If you are under a Imperialdramon or a free type Digimon, then this card gets jamming. So if you're under this Imperialdramon, it gets jamming. So you can attack again with it if you want, and then just Digivolve on top of this again so that you can make it safe. Or if you have enough memory, you can attack with it again. Usually you won't have 6 memory though, so you know, gotta watch out for that. But at least you can make it safe from opponent's attacks for the next turn. Next we have for Stingmon. Stingmon is the new green card they're running in this deck. We didn't run Stingmon in the previous build because that one is not a dual color Digivolution card. But this one is. It's pretty good. It gives your opponent, it gives your Digimon jamming if it has the free type or if it's under an Imperialdramon. So overall, pretty solid card. We're not running the other Imperialdramon, so having piercing is nice. And if you have this, it's pretty much a Dino Beamon now. It's got 1k less attack, but that's okay. That is totally okay. Next, we're running 2 of the old XVmon. This card is purely kind of a tech, just so that when my Vmon attacks, I can have a way to rescue it from getting destroyed. You can kind of Digivolve on top of the Vmon and then Digivolve into this afterwards to set up for Imperialdramon next turn. If you set it out like this, it becomes a little weak if you're Digivolving on top of this because it doesn't have jamming or piercing. But if you're Digivolving on top of this, it's alright because it still has jamming and you are still unblockable, so it's not bad. So you have to be very careful how you build your Digimon lines when you are playing the game, because sometimes you might make a wrong line and then your Imperialdramon might die pretty quickly. Next, we are running 3 of the 1-cost Digivolution blockers. So we're running this mainly because it's one cost to Digivolve, and it is a blocker. Some people like to run the 2-cost Evolution to the Evolve blocker just to hard cast and have a 6k body on the board. But I don't know. I'm kind of debating. If I do play more games and I feel more cloggy with these guys, I might run the Grizzlymon. But right now, having this is fine as well. Just to skip a level, because honestly, if you're in the raising area and you don't have anything you need, just get Digivolving on top of Vmon like that is fine. Again, it depends on what you're playing against, but for the most part, it should be alright. Next, we're running 4 of the new Vmon. This is the one that gains 1 memory when you unsuspend. This is a really good card because it pretty much turns both of these guys into 2-cost evolutions, which is really good. So, not much else to say about that. Definitely run these at 4. Also turns this to a 2-cost evolution if you did attack with your jamming XVmon. Where is it? So if you have this, you move it out during your main phase. Attack with this, and then Digivolve into this. Unsuspend. You did it for 2 costs. Very memory efficient. Good card. Good combo. Great cards in EX1. Next, we are running 4 of the jamming Vmon. This card's just good because it has jamming. Yeah, not much else to say. Just get some early shots in, and most of the time when he's on the board, he becomes the attack target. So, you know, he's pretty good at diverting attacks from your security as well. Of course, there's a lot of cards in the game right now that can remove it, so you gotta be careful what you're playing against. But for the most part, getting some cheap shots in is pretty good. Next, running 4 Elecmon. People like to run the trial deck Vmon instead. I can see why they would run it, but I like having the option to running these Elecmons, mainly because Imperialdramon is still considered a rush deck or more like a fast deck. So having these to memory deny your opponent early game, or setting up your board for some cheap attacks is kind of important. So I'm just running these anyway. If you want to run the Vmon, you can, but I just like having some options to hard cast 2-cost Digimons for this deck in particular. Next, we're running 3 Davis. You can run this at 4 if you don't want to run the XVmons. You can kind of cut this out, turn this into Davis, and then your other XVmon can turn into something else. But yeah, 3 Davis is working fine for me so far. You can also turn these into Lobomon if you want. If you're running 4 Davis, just turn one into a Lobomon, and then you're pretty much good to go. Next, we're running 3 Ice Ball. Ice Ball is just a really strong card in the meta right now. There's a lot of cards that can still multi-attack or spam the field, so giving the skill to your opponent's Digimon when they attack, they lose 2 memory is just really good. It turns all of them into pretty much those blockers that have that skill to lose 2 memory. Yeah. Last but not least, we're running 2 blue memory boost. You can run these for Howling memory boost instead, but I like these just to have a little bit of search in my deck, so I can search for combo pieces and having that extra memory to set up for later on. Of course, if you are playing the Howling memory boost, you can also have that extra memory to use. As you can see, I'm not running Hammer Spark. Hammer Spark is a good card, but I don't really have it. I don't really have space in this particular build because there's so many good stuff that I want to run that I don't really have space for the Hammer Spark. Of course, Ice Ball kind of works like a memory spark in the memory, so it can cut your opponent's turn short if they crash into this, which is nice. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this deck, guys. Pretty self-explanatory. The deck is very fun, very consistent, and I can see this being one of the top contenders for the format. There are a lot of ways to play around this, so you gotta kind of play around your opponent, try to play around you. So that's part of the game for Digimon, but it's a fun deck. It's very fun, and it's not that expensive. Fairly cheap, I think. None of these cards are really expensive. I guess the most expensive cards in this deck are the Omnimons, but even those are not too expensive right now, I believe. I think the jamming Vmons might be expensive, but if you're not using the alternate art, it's fine. Yeah, that's pretty much it for this deck, guys. If you guys want to build something similar to this, or if you're interested in supporting the channel, you can feel free to use the TCG Player affiliate link down below, and that would help out the channel a lot, especially if you guys are planning to build decks, buying singles from there. But yeah, I think BT5 is almost out, and I don't think there's much support for Imperialdramon in BT5, but overall, I think the deck will definitely come back when the EX deck comes out, and especially since it's also getting a trial deck soon. So when Imperialdramon gets a start deck, we'll see what kind of neat tools we get for them as well. I'm very excited for Fighter Mode when we get it. It's not announced yet, but I hope it is coming soon. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this video, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed it. This is Kartaku, and I'll see you guys next time.